Strategic Moves Radio Show. Kenn Dowell. Time to motivate, inspire, and right now, this is what you need. And it's hosted by Kenn Dowell, art, politics, and culture. So let's go. Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell Radio Show. Let your voice be heard. Time to elevate. Ay, call in or talk to me Tuesday. Ay, let your voice be heard. Time to elevate. 95.9 FM. Tune in and don't wait. What's on your mind Tuesday? Streaming on WOVU.org and 95.9 FM. And don't just listen. Jump in and be the conversation. Let's go.
Hey, what's up, everybody? You tuned in to another episode of Strategic Moves. I'm your host, Kenn Dowell. This is a place where we bring art, culture, politics, and business all together. And we do it every Tuesday right here on this beautiful WOVU 95.9 studio. But when I'm not shooting this podcast, I am the owner of Strategic Resources, where we specialize in political campaigns, government, and public relations work. I've been doing it all around the state of Ohio and around this city for over 20 years. And I want to make your next move a strategic move. So this program gives me a chance to bring on some of the people I've met. We come on, we talk about some of our experiences, and hopefully there's something out of it you can get that'll help you in your business or your personal life. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, what I need you to do is hit my like button and the subscribe button and notification bell as well, so that you'll know the next time this program is coming on. And if you like to, you can be part of this conversation by calling in to the WOVU hotline, where you can ask your questions and be heard. If you can't get in, please try to keep calling till you can get through the lines, because lines are busy here and we get a lot of people calling in. So we want you to call in and make sure you be a part of that conversation. But if you leave something in the social media thing, we'll go ahead and put that up as well. We're on the road to getting, we got a little campaign I got going on now. It's called Road to 10,000 moves in 6 months. We're trying to get up to 30,000 subscribers on our podcast channel, Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell. That's on our YouTube channel, where you can go to YouTube and look up Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell. We interview guests from all around the country and around the city of Ohio, Cleveland, around Ohio, and we talk about topics and issues that come up. And so if you'd like to go there, we on a mission. We just got 20,000 subscribers, and we got those the hard way, a mixture of a lot of stuff that we really want to try to clean out. Got a lot of people came on who said they were real people who ain't really real people. So we want to get rid of them fake people out of our lives. So in order to get rid of them fake people out of our lives, we got to incorporate with new things. So the way we're going to do that is by getting new people on. So that's where we want you to be a part of that whole discussion, and be a part of that by going to our YouTube channel, hitting the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. It's free, don't cost you anything, and you will know the next time this program is coming on. You get a chance to talk about what's going on in our community and that kind of thing. Today, we're going to have a really, really good program today, because we're going to talk about a couple of issues, and we're going to take up today for some of the people that we call the least of these. We're going to talk about seniors today. We're going to talk about the elderly, because those people today are under attack in very, very different forms and ways. And today we're going to be talking to a few people to help us do that and kind of help us get that going. Before we get going, do a quick shout out to DJ True, who's over there helping us out. DJ, how you doing today, son?
I am doing great.
Get in your mic, sir. We can't hear you.
I am doing great.
All right, excellent.
Good to be here at the WOVU studios with our whole WOVU family. Shout out to you, Zeke, Uni, the whole crew, the whole fam. We in the building.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do a very good show today, because we got a lot we want to cover today, and I got a guest who's going to be coming on to our podcast. She's going to be a guest that we're going to have on the podcast later this month. She's been doing some really good work around the community for some years now. Her name is Constance Hill Harper, and we call her Connie Hill Harper. So what we're going to do is we're going to get ready to bring Ms. Hill Harper onto the show. Connie Hill Harper is launching a senior care business in her mother's basement and becoming the first Black woman to chair the Cleveland Foundation. And her journey is nothing short but inspiring. She's also the owner of Visiting Angels, which is an institute that helps with senior care. And we're going to talk with her about that. And she's going to come on our show. So Miss Connie Harper, Miss Connie, I know Miss Connie Harper. And every time I keep saying I keep messing her name up. But this is Miss Constant Hill Johnson. How you doing today?
Thank you so much. I had to chuckle here thinking, oh my gosh, I know Connie Harper, or I did, and I'm Connie Hill Johnson. So thank you so much for catching yourself.
Yeah, and listen, when I was doing all my stuff and working on putting your stuff together for not just this, but the podcast, Connie Harper just kept coming across my mind. And so please forgive me if it comes out again that way. I didn't mean it. It's just something that's been happening with me with that name for some reason.
You may have to go talk to my husband if you keep saying Harper. It is Johnson.
Yeah, that's great. So listen, I want to tell you, it's a pleasure. You know what? I know how to make this go. I'm going to call you Miss Johnson. And that way I know I don't mess it up. There,
Or just Connie,
Now, if I do that, Connie, I might mess it up. I'm going to just say Miss Johnson. I'm going to keep you right there so I know I got you right. Okay, Miss Johnson. How about that?
Thank you.
Thank
you. That's fine.
Your story, Nate, it resonates, especially in our community. I want to dive into your journey of your work that you've been doing. Can you share with us what motivated you to start the Visiting Angels and how it evolved over the years?
Sure. And this, I will be very brief because, there's a story behind every story.
Oh, yeah. We're going to talk about that on the podcast. This is just a promo.
Yeah. I've been in business 23 years, native Clevelander. But I was living in St. Louis at the time, and I went through a downsizing. Like a whole lot of folks, lost my job. Here I am, a woman with 2 degrees, but got laid off, and decided to do something on my own. And to be very honest, I always give credit to Black Enterprise Magazine. I was reading an article in Black Enterprise Magazine that talked about the number of minorities, specifically Blacks, buying franchises. So Visiting Angels is a franchise. I purchased a franchise. And moved back to Cleveland. I was not married at the time and started the business in my mom's basement. I moved back in with my mom. I grew up in Glenville and started my business in 2002 in my mom's basement. And here I am 23 years later, still with the business and in the business of caring for seniors.
That's excellent. Where you grew up in Glenville? I grew up in Glenville.
I grew up right across on Thornhill Drive, from between Arlington and Gray.
Yes, I know exactly where you were.
Gray.
Yeah, Thornhill. Yeah. That's a nice little street over there. It had a little cul-de-sac.
Thank you for saying that. We still say that. Those of us who are not there, but there's still some elders on that street. We still kind of shout out that we thought we had one of the best streets.
It really was. It was a little hidden gem back off in there if you didn't know about it, you know. Let's get into this. Your leadership at the Cleveland Foundation as a groundbreaking. How has your role influenced the foundation direction and impacting on our community?
I'm continuing to reflect back. I just ended my 3-year term as the chair. I'm still on the board.
Okay.
I ended a 3-year board chair term March the 30th. Succeeded by Randall McShepard, who is very well known here in Cleveland. He is now the board chair. But I'd like to say that when I took that role, it was a very, very pivotal time in the life of the foundation. We were moving from downtown. We used to be in a high-rise building downtown.
Right.
The board had made a decision to be in the heart of the city. We wanted to get more proximate with the community we served. And so when I was asked to be the board chair, I remember counseling with a few people because it was not automatic for me. I was a little hesitant. I had been a board member, but did not know if I wanted to be board chair. But then I thought about, God has a way of doing things. I thought, wow, Connie, if you're going to do this, the foundation is moving to the heart of the city. You are a city girl. You grew up in the city. If anybody knows the city and living in the inner city, you do. I knew that our current CEO at that time, Ron Richard, was likely going to be retiring in another year. So I thought, what better time to be in a leadership position than at this time? You will lead the search for the new CEO of the world's oldest community foundation.
Mm-hmm.
You will become a face, hopefully, for more Black and brown people who look like me to feel that they do have a place in the Cleveland Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And you will lead the search for the next CEO. So now that I am off, I'm still on the board again, and I reflect back on the many, many things that have occurred under my leadership. I have to say that I am amazed. I'm a city girl. I'm a community girl. I'm all things Cleveland. And it's only now as I hear people come up, as people come up to me and say, you changed how we see the foundation.
Mm.
You changed how Black folks relate to the foundation. You changed now that we feel like we can go in there and find out the programs and the offerings and how we can be a part of philanthropy. And so I'm proud. I'm really, really proud. While I was in the middle of doing it, you don't really recognize the impact that you're having.
Right.
But you come out of it and you're like, oh my gosh,
Right.
this was okay. And
Y'all built
glory.
a beautiful building down there on there, and
oh my gosh,
and just the fact that you moved there and your organization moving there sparked all the other development around it to build up. So that whole area over there now looks very nice. And in fact, I was just over there. I think it was Friday for the pre-opening.
At the 66?
Yes.
Is that not the best place?
Oh, the best
I was
place.
there Friday evening.
Oh, the best place.
Gosh.
And my office is on 55th and Euclid, like 44th and Euclid. And we're always looking for something to eat. And when I rode there, I was like, oh my God, it's right there. And that was awesome. I was I've been impressed with some stuff in Cleveland. That one kind of shocked me and got me a little bit. I was like, whoa, okay, this is nice.
And allow me to do a shout out for Pearl's Kitchen.
Sure.
And Black Frog Brewing.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted, and the community wanted, when we were moving to that area, the community told us, there's no place around here where we can walk to or a short drive where we can get live music,
right,
good food, a beer or a glass of wine.
Yeah.
And when I was in there Friday night for about 3 hours, I felt like I had birthed a baby because that whole conversation about that happened while I was board chair. And to be able to be in there and see this wonderful mix of people, Black and white and old and young, enjoying live music was absolutely amazing.
And you got so much land and stuff over there for so much green space for when the summer comes. So all kinds. I just saw, when I saw that, my mind just went like, oh, they're going to do so much stuff over here. This is going to be really awesome. This is really awesome.
Buckle up, Cleveland. I still say the best is yet to come.
So let's get to another thing, a more serious question, because I'm going to let you run you out on this one here, if you don't mind.
Okay.
With the recent proposed aim to cut approximately $880 billion from Medicaid over the next decade, there's growing concerns about how these reductions could affect elder care services, given Medicare funds is about 60% of the nursing homes and stay-at-home facilities, is a significant portion of home-based care for seniors. What's your thoughts on how these cuts might impact the elderly population in our communities?
Okay. So first I'm going to do another little minor correction. Medicaid, not Medicare.
Yes. Okay. Sorry about
Medicaid
that.
Cut. Medicaid. That's
yes,
okay.
it was.
That's
it was Medicaid. Sorry, you're right.
Medicaid. And I don't think most of us recognize that most people who are in nursing homes are most likely on Medicaid. Very few people are self-pay.
Gotcha.
I have big concerns, concerns, even more so for our community, that we are going to find more vulnerable seniors who are living alone and at risk. Gone are the days, Ken, where adult children stayed in the communities where their parents live.
That's correct.
So even for my home care business, most of the calls I get are from the adult children who don't even live here in Cleveland, but their parents are still in Cleveland Heights, South Euclid, and they're vulnerable and alone. And so I have really, really, really big concerns about what's going to happen to our seniors. I always say that our most vulnerable are children and seniors. And we as a community seem to many times forget both of that. It's those of us in the middle that seem to be doing okay, but we forget about the little ones and we forget about the older ones, our elders. And there are going to be a lot of us as adult children scrambling.
Oh, she must have hung up. We must have got disconnected. She'll come right back in, or we'll get her right back in on the line. This is her coming in real quick. Y'all just bear with me, people. She was just talking. That is Miss Constance Johnson. She's going to be on our show this week. Our podcast coming up to continue to talk about elderly care and her works over at the Cleveland Foundation. And she is a remarkable woman doing some remarkable things here in Cleveland. And we're going to get her back on the line real quick so that we can continue our conversation with her. But before then, DJ, what you thinking about what she was talking about?
Hey, well, when you care for elderly, which I even had some thoughts on businesses concerning the elderly. I just think that that's a good thing, because I think there's a real big generation gap between our seniors and our like the grandkids and great grandkids. You used to have a lot of grandmothers in the school system, teaching these kids or relating to these kids, and I think we're losing that. There's definitely a generation gap where we're losing that knowledge and that empathy for our elders. So I think somebody doing remarkable work like that is real good.
It's a real thing. Like you said, it's almost like a situation where they don't realize, or it's not being passed on.
Yeah.
We're
losing a lot of
the empathy. And you know what? And it's an empathy for people. We got Miss Johnson back on the line. Before she got, I want to make sure we let her get in. You want to finish your point, Miss Johnson?
Yeah, and I don't know what happened with that line, but no, I was just saying, I think those of us who are adult children are going to be the ones who are going to feel the brunt of our aging parents. I don't have my mom and dad with me now; they're gone, gone on to heaven. But I think we as adult children need to begin planning for how not only we want our parents to age, and financially too. More importantly, if we have children, we better start planning for how we want to age and communicate that to our children. So this is going to become a national crisis.
And you know what? And that's the thing that you was talking about, is like how we age and communicate that to our children about how to approach that situation is very important, and because we're dealing with that now with my wife's, her father stayed with us, and when he moved in, it was a change for the whole household to get to that. And it sometimes even made me wonder, my kids like, man, I hope you guys gonna take care of me when I get old. So, it makes you feel that way, it really does. And you, if you're not communicating that, if they don't understand the empathy of how that whole process works, you can be out here and be alone, like you say.
Absolutely. And I say to people now, if you have adult children, Ken, or anybody else listening, start talking to them now about how you want to age.
Wow.
Because most people deal with it when the crisis hits.
That's correct.
Like, oh, what am I going to do when a crisis is hit? Start having the conversation now around the dining room table.
That's important.
That's all I can say to people. It's important.
Well, Ms. Johnson, we really appreciate you coming on the show. You got some closing remarks before you leave to get everybody to understand anything, or anything you want to tell them before you go?
No, a couple things, since I wear multiple hats.
Sure.
I cannot, again, I'm going to repeat myself. Look at your children in the face. The next time they are all at home, sit down. Don't put it off, because it takes one accident, one fall to turn everybody's life upside down. That's the first thing. The other thing is, to our community, Black and Brown, as a percentage of income, we are philanthropists. We give more money from our pockets than any other ethnicity. And we don't think about that. We, as a percentage of our income, we give more money than anybody else. We give it in different ways, and philanthropy looks different in our community. But we need to start recognizing that we have as big of an impact on the good of our community as the person who gives a whole lot of money and their name is on a building. So
that's going to be an interesting conversation. We're going to have a good one on that. What does philanthropy look like in our communities? Because you're right, it is different. And you said that, and I'm going to make sure we keep that, because that's going to be something I'm going to really look forward to sitting down talking to you about.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Hey, I appreciate you taking the time, everybody. That is Miss Constant Hill Johnson. Got it right. That's
Not Harper. Thank you.
That's who I see. You almost made me mess up again. You just said I had a hard time. I was like, did I say it wrong? Miss Constant Hill Johnson is on our program, and she is going to be really a great guest on our podcast. Please listen out for that being on the show. Miss Johnson, again, I want to thank you for coming on our program. We look forward to sitting down talking to you soon.
All right. Thank you. Bless you both. Bye-bye.
You too. All right, everybody. That was Miss Hill, Miss Constant Hill Harper. And see how I just blew that quick. She hung up the phone and just made me mess that up. I was on the roll, and I just blew it just man. Like that.
Man,
Miss Constant Hill Johnson.
Come on, let's say it together. Miss Constant Hill Johnson.
That's who we got, and she's coming on our podcast, and she's a remarkable woman doing remarkable things. When we get back, we're going to talk about our next group of people that's coming on our show. We got Pastor Aaron Phillips here, and we're going to talk about the next big thing that's going on in our community. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Get ready, Cleveland. It's your turn to speak up. Call in and tell us what's on your mind. Join the Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell Radio Show on 95.9 FM WOVU or stream live at WOVU.org. Let's make your voice count. Let's go.
Support for WOVU comes from East End Neighborhood House, serving Cleveland families for over a century. This summer, East End is expanding with a new child care location in East Cleveland, providing a safe, nurturing space for kids. The senior department is open Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday with activities like bingo, exercise classes, and a food pantry day. Seniors can also join the foster grandparent program to mentor and tutor children. Visit EENH.org.
Come on, y'all!
We got some big news, Cleveland. Your favorite community radio station, WOVU 95.9 FM, is now on iHeartRadio. That's right. No matter where you are, you can stream the voice of the village anytime, anywhere. Get all your favorite shows, the hottest community conversations, and the music that moves the culture. Now just a tap away on iHeartRadio app. So whether you're at home, at work, or on the go, take WOVU with you. Search WOVU 95.9 FM on your iHeartRadio app, because our voices matter 24/7, and so does the mission. WOVU 95.9 FM. Our voices united, mission driven 24/7. The voice of the community, a Burton Belcar community radio station. Support for WOVU comes from the Alzheimer's Association, presenting the Mama Joe Project, film screening and community outreach. The event takes place Saturday, May 17th from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Cedar Lee Theater in Cleveland Heights. It includes a free screening of My Mama Joe, Hope and Help, a documentary about caregiving through Alzheimer's, followed by a Q&A with local experts. Details are available at mamajoeproject.com/Ohio.
WOVU 95.9 thrives daily to provide a positive forum for discussion of community issues and opportunities. Provide a creative platform for every segment of our community. Produce and distribute entertaining and uplifting cultural, educational, and artistic programming. Produce and distribute local community news, information, and public service announcements. Provide a platform for the live coverage of local community and school sports. Provide a portal for outsiders to rediscover the Forgotten Triangle and its potential. Provide media education and training to participating members of the community. Make no mistake, WOVU 95.9, Our Voices United, a solution-driven radio station.
Cleveland, this is your show, your topics, and your voice. Join in for What's on Your Mind Tuesday on 95.9 FM WOVU. Call in or comment on social media. Let's make this conversation unforgettable. Streaming live on WOVU.org.
All right, everybody, we're back. You listening to Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell, and today we're going to dive into Executive Order 14290. And listen, if you think about another boring governmental convo, well, this one comes with a twist, y'all. We're going to have this one a little different. Joining me on this conversation today is going to be none other than Pastor Aaron Phillips. He's a truth teller for our community, and he's going to talk a little bit about our discussion today. As I say, we're here today to talk about the least of thee. We got the seniors that are doing their things that's going on. We talked with Miss Constant Hill Johnson today and talked about how seniors need help and how the government is going to be cutting over $880 billion from Medicare or Medicaid as it goes on as over the next decade, and how those cuts will affect our community. And today we're going to talk about another group of people, and that's the children. Because the children here is now being punished a little bit as well for being a part of this government. I think our administration is finding a way to make sure it does everything it can to make sure that everybody gets some of that smoke. He's giving that smoke to everybody. He's going to make sure everybody get that smoke. So we're going to start. You only play that beam footage. We're going to let everybody listen to this news footage here, and this is going to help set the stage here.
The president tweeted or socialed or truthed, Republicans must defund and totally disassociate themselves from NPR and PBS, the radical left monsters that so badly hurt our country. I have to tell you, I heard monsters and I thought of Cookie Monster. I thought of
did too,
Sesame
actually.
Street, and I thought of that children's programming.
Right.
That is in many ways what people think of when they think of PBS.
Absolutely.
Is that impacted too?
Absolutely. And out of this executive order, we believe it impacts our funding out of the Department of Education, which is a 30-year program that has supported not only the creation of many of the children's programming that you see on public television, but also the research that we do to ensure that that programming is not just safe and enjoyable, but that children, after watching, come away with understanding of basic letters and numbers. Half the kids in this country are not enrolled in formal pre-K. That's why programming for children on public television was created. That was the idea with Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers, and everything that's followed since is to make sure that children that do not have access to a full array of resources have the opportunity to learn and to develop skills that they'll need the first time they enter preschool. That may be at age 2 or 3 or 4 and sometimes 5, not until they start kindergarten. That's what's at risk.
At risk or right now? I mean, do you have the money to keep functioning?
Well, we have programming, so you're not going to turn on your TV set and not see our children's programming anymore. Okay. But if that funding is cut off, we have programs in development right now, and that will suddenly skid to a halt. We also have stations around the country that work directly with preschool providers and parents, and this funds those activities. So the immediate impact would be fairly significant.
Yeah, you see that? Now, let's sit back and let's picture a world where your kids never heard Reading Rainbow, or your uncle who used to drive you to work or going to work late could never hear All Things Considered. Your grandmother, gospel hour, or local radio is gone. That's tomorrow. That's right now. That's this executive order unchecked. So we're going to talk a little bit about that with Pastor Aaron Phillips.
Yes, sir.
Aaron Phillips, what do you think about what's going on in the potential cuts of what's going to be happening here with getting rid of public radio? So today, guys, we're talking about public access radio. That's what we're on today. We're talking about other channels like that, PBS and other stations that are out there that's doing that, and there's going to be major cuts to those.
I think we should start at the beginning, Ken, that the reason why public radio exists, because the radio airwaves are public. And so what the government did, they made when people were starting to make money on these public waves, these airwaves, they said we have to set aside some programming to make sure that we have some good quality educational programming going on these very public waves. And that's why we have public radio, because it's good to have those entertainment radios and people who are making profit for that. But because these things the air is free. So because the air is free, they have set aside some monies to make sure that the public has good quality programming. And, I'm going to date myself here. But I grew up watching Sesame Street and Electric Company, and one came on and knowing Bert and Ernie, Cookie Monster, way before there was Elmo.
That's
and
correct.
then we were that's how we learned, and we were talking about this the other day, and we had multiple stars would come on there. I remember Kareem Abdul-Jabbar going on Sesame Street, so there's many stars would come on there to promote educational programming, and with all of the false media, all the false truth, all the crazy social media that's on these airwaves today, we absolutely need to make sure we have a standard where we have public radios being used for the public good. And there's just something that was always something that everyone agreed, whether you were Democrat, Republican, black or white, that we always, male or female, north or south, red states, blue states, we all agreed that public radio was very important to make sure that we maintain integrity and have an educational form and format, and particularly for our children, but for all of us. As we're on the public radio station today, I know I also grew up with my mother would ride with me because we didn't have daycare in my day, so I was with my mother all the time, and she was always listening to NPR, and I still listen to the news radio to this day. I fell in love with the news as a kid because that's what my mother listened to in the car, and so we need to make sure we maintain that standard, and the society of democracy that begins to start trimming and cutting away at the truth and information, that is a recipe against democracy. So it's really not an attack just on the children and on folks who are underprivileged, but it's an attack on democracy. And those who control the communication, that's who controls the rules of the day. And that's why it's so important for us to make sure that we fight back against it and say something that we need to make sure we maintain public access and public radio.
So you think it's about silencing us, or do you think it's all about retribution? Some people seem to feel as if over the years, Sesame Street and others, organizations like that, have poked fun at the administration, mainly the president and things of that nature. And so some feel that this is a form of payback to say, hey, we're not, because of you coming on there making fun. And I looked at some of them PBS's things that Sesame Street went in on him a little bit over the years. But they went in on everybody. But, I imagine they never thought he'll be president, but he became president. And now, like I say, he's giving that smoke to everybody.
Yes, he is. And I didn't know that Sesame Street actually had some, because public radio is not supposed to be biased.
Oh, he wasn't president then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then there's no.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He was a landlord
yeah.
and businessman, The Apprentice, and
all
of that kind of stuff. They went at him on that kind of stuff.
Well,
they ain't talking to him about him being president.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, and he's not trying to get rid of Fox News when Bart Simpson then had him as president back then, remember? Looking all crazy. So I think that it's important that we know that he wants to control the information. He wants to really dictate what information is out there and kind of brainwash us to believe, for example, he would say crazy things to this day, like that Ukraine was the one who started the war. So he gives these false narratives and this fake news to help promote him to stay in office. And that is, that's dangerous. That's dangerous territory. And I think we're not, we need to wake people up about this.
So is this a form of censorship, you think?
Absolutely.
This is a way that, hey, we're going to go ahead and put an end to all of that, because I believe not just this, but a few other things he's did has been able to silence the voice of a few people.
Yes, absolutely. And I'll tell you, we have to be really concerned when a person, because our country is losing its democracy, and we're slowly but surely moving into a dictatorship. And when you start attacking the media because it's giving good reporting or is talking about educational things, that should scare all of us, and we should all be concerned about that.
Well, it's the education on the radio, it's the educational system that they're talking about getting rid of as well, being a major big part of that as well. So when it comes down to those kind of things, I think that's where we as people have to be more diligent and try to fight more and get more involved so that we can kind of find out what we can do. to fight back on some of this stuff.
And I think maybe some of these things we should have been doing. I have to be, we have to be honest with ourselves. Some of these things we should be doing anyway, because we just kind of take our freedom for granted. I mean, who would ever thought that we would be getting ready to get rid of PBS or getting rid of Sesame Street, getting rid of educational programs. So in light of that, we need to take, I think, control of our own narrative. That's what I love about this program, that we are taking control over the narrative and giving people real information, the right information, and a voice as well. And we as a community, and I mean talking about the African American community, we need to be more concerned about that and making sure that our message is getting out and not waiting for someone else to bring a message to us.
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to play a quick piece because Elmo and Sesame Street and PBS fought back.
All right.
They had a thing they did, and it was on Jimmy Kimmel, so we don't know if it's Jimmy Kimmel or if it was them, but we're going to play it anyway. So here you go.
Let's hear it.
The White House reportedly preparing to ask Congress to claw back nearly all federal funding for PBS.
The New York Times says the White House will ask Congress to rescind more than $1 billion in funding for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. That would equal about 2 years of its federal funding.
And now a response from PBS.
Everybody, snapping Big Bird. Come see what Elmo did.
What have you done, Elmo?
Well, Elmo wrote a diss track.
He's going full Kendrick Lamar.
Trump's threatening our funds, has 2 stupid sons. Elmo's pissed. Says that we're woke, his brain is broke, dumb fascist. It's clear he's not seen our show. Can't pronounce words he should know. What's next? Will he tear up cookies?
Cookies pissed.
My song is finished. My song is done. Brought to you by number one.
So I will imagine everybody know that Elmo's number one wasn't his number one finger. Let's put it that way. So they're getting very ugly with this fight here. Ooh. PBS, Donald Trump, Jimmy Kimmel, the world. Everybody's angry today. And that's what we're going to talk a little bit more when we get back from the break with Aaron Phillips. We're going to talk more about what's going on with PBS, public radio, and public access, and the freedom of being able to say and do what you need to do. We at risk by just having this podcast right now, or this radio station right now, by saying what we're saying. Trust me when I say that, y'all. So here we'll be right back.
Cleveland, this is your show, your topics and your voice. Join me, Kenn Dowell, for What's on Your Mind Tuesday on 95.9 FM WOVU. Call in a comment on social media. Let's make this conversation unforgettable. Streaming live at WOVU.org.
Support for WOVU 95.9 comes from the TJ Carey Foundation, presenting the Heart Warrior Run and Walk on Saturday, June 28th. The event includes a 5K challenge, a 1-mile walk, and a 100-yard kids run, hosted by 9-year NFL veteran TJ Carey. The football-themed event features music, referees, and cheerleaders. Proceeds benefit programs of the TJ Carey Foundation. Details at tjcareyfoundation.org.
Come on, y'all!
We got some big news, Cleveland. Your favorite community radio station, WOVU 95.9 FM, is now on iHeartRadio. That's right. No matter where you are, you can stream the voice of the village anytime, anywhere. Get all your favorite shows, the hottest community conversations, and the music that moves the culture. Now just a tap away on iHeartRadio app. So whether you're at home, at work, or on the go, take WOVU with you. Search WOVU 95.9 FM on your iHeartRadio app, because our voices matter 24/7. And so does the mission. WOVU 95.9 FM. Our voices united, mission driven 24/7. The voice of the community. A Burtonville Carr community radio station.
High blood pressure or hypertension is a major risk factor for heart disease. Half of Americans have high blood pressure and many are unaware of it. About 55% of Black adults have high blood pressure, and it often develops earlier in life. Information about blood pressure and related health resources is available on the Cleveland Office of Minority Health's webpage at clevelandhealth.org. This message is funded by the Ohio Commission on Minority Health. We are celebrating 7 years here at WOVU 95.9 FM, Our Voices United. 7 years of providing a platform for community conversations. 7 years of bringing you news in and around Cleveland. 7 years of entertaining hits from the best local artists. Thank you, the listeners, for your support for 7 years. You have helped us continue and expand our mission to provide information that engages, informs, and uplifts the community. Spread the word, download our free mobile app, and stay tuned as we celebrate our 7th anniversary right here at WOVU 95.9 FM. Our Voices United, mission-driven 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
What's on your mind this Tuesday, Cleveland? Let's talk art, culture, politics, and business on the Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell Radio Show. Call us on 95.9 FM WOVU. Stream live at WOVU.org or comment on our social media. Let's hear from you.
All right, we're back. We're back. So as you heard, this thing is a real big fight that's going on. I think, we really making fun of what's going on, but it's really serious because we're talking about censorship. We're talking about the things that we grew up that used to be good. We talk that now everybody is starting to change those things. So Pastor Phillips, public media has always been the lifeline for underserved communities. How do you see the role? How you see its role aligning with the mission of the Black church and keeping people informed, educated, and empowered?
Well, most of the times, especially churches like myself, but I didn't even know larger churches have been well established for years. But a church like mine that's 20 years old, we have always used the media to promote the gospel of Jesus Christ and to promote people coming to church and being part of the community. And that is now at jeopardy because we can't afford to go on the major radio stations and media outlets. But when you have the ability to have public radio, and we have the ability to afford that and have access to the community. So the church has always been working hand in glove with public radio. That's why we have this. That's why we're here today. I know after us, Pastor Ben Goldstein is going to be coming on. So the church and the pastors have always been a part of giving that communication, giving that good quality information through public access and through public media. And that's what's very important. That's why we need to continue to do that. But I wonder, Ken, if one of the things that's a problem, because sometimes the public access media has been too woke. So I wondered if maybe we want to talk about that. Maybe they don't feel like that we need to be talking about certain things like LGBTQ rights and those kind of things on public radio, which does happen. And I wonder if that's an attack on us who are more progressive minded and progressive thinking as well.
Oh, I believe that hands down. I think once Sesame Street went from ABCs to a whole bunch of other
LGBTQCs and D's and F's and all that.
I think it became a problem for those people in power. And again, it's not just with that. That was one of the things that they came into the administration saying from the beginning when they got rid of DEI and all of that. So it was that. It's just another blow at that as it relates to trying to censor what we can hear, what your kids are getting, how they getting it, and that kind of thing. And I think that's what the real big I think that's what the real overarching goal of this thing is.
And I think sometimes I remember when I was watching Sesame Street and they showed the first interracial couple. And that was a big deal. Our first time a single mother was on. Remember that as well on PBS on Sesame Street. So those kinds of social issues that are progressive,
that's correct,
was highlighted on those issues, and which I think is very important. But I think so. It's not only an attack on our democracy, but it's also an attack on our diversity and the need to make sure that we are sensitive to all people, not just white Anglo-Saxon people.
It's a people associate like public radio and things like that from cooking when you were older. Your grandmothers and my grandmother and others will have the radio on. They'll be listening to public media
Right.
to get information and that thing. But do you also think it? How does it affect our identity as a culture in our black household? Do you think not having that is going to affect us to some degree? And who's to say? Because now you got the millennials and others who don't listen to public radio, access radio, or anything else. They get their information from social media.
Which is a tragedy because one thing we could say for certain on public radio, you were getting quality information, historical information. And a lot of times today, especially in this generation, people don't know the history of things because they haven't been taught either in school or learned from public radio access or their own family members or don't want to listen to that. When you don't have that history, when you don't understand where things have evolved from, things came from, it makes us as a society even more ignorant. And when we're more ignorant, that's when we can be led astray. And that's exactly what this administration wants to do. They want to keep us ignorant. And so it's our job, Brother Kenn Dowell, to make sure that we are giving the right information and being intelligent and making quality decisions based on accurate information. And it's really a war for accurate information because if you would let this administration tell you that black people aren't necessary, you don't have to, certain things don't matter anymore, the Constitution doesn't need to be instituted, doesn't need to be followed. And we're seeing that before our very eyes. Whereas this is an executive order, not all the elected officials in Congress and in Washington, D.C. making this decision. This is one man making this decision that's impacting millions of people and billions of dollars. That's dictatorship. And if you think that's okay, you don't understand the history of what democracy is.
But see, that's the point.
Yes.
It's not one man. There's Congress and there's a Senate that's following him, that's working with him to do it. And on the executive orders, he is signing those himself and doing it, but he's still got a lot of backing from Congress. What's your take on how media, especially independent and public outlets, shape the moral compass of our community?
I think that's just goes without saying. I mean, it's a part of our culture. I mean, and we have media. We're surrounded by media on every day, especially with social media. So when we lose this truth teller that we been depending on for years, then now we have to fall back on social media, and we know that's a trap. All kind of messes on social media, and it's things. Some are good. If you're listening to the podcast of Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell, you're going to get some good information. But if you're listening to somebody, maybe it's Stephen A. Smith, sometimes he says some stuff that shouldn't be said. So we need to have a good balance. I mean, a healthy balance of making sure, because everybody wants to listen to be in entertainment. I mean, that's the bottom line. People like to be entertained. So many times we have to put this information in an entertaining force. And that's exactly what PBS did. That's exactly what Sesame Street was about. You were singing songs, doing fun things as well as learning. That made it entertaining and interesting for young people. So now what we have now in social media, you have crazy people doing stuff that's entertaining. For example, we broadcast on our social media on Facebook at our church every week. Well, this week one of our deacons literally fell right in the middle of service, and he stood up, and he was okay. He got right up and everything. We had more views because he fell, not because of my good preaching, not because of that good choir singing, but that became entertaining for people. So that's what we have to understand, where our society is, and we need to get back to being an intelligent people, so we are making good quality decisions and improving our community, and not just doing things for more views and more likes and more subscribers.
Some folks say the revolution will not be televised.
That's right.
But does the revolution need a broadcast?
Absolutely.
Does it need a broadcast license today? That's maybe the bigger question. And also, should pastors and faith leaders step into the media space more directly?
Absolutely. I think we are doing that, and we need more of that. That's for sure. I know back in the 80s, we started really getting on the broadcast with TBN and CBN with broadcasting, where there was just solely, strictly broadcasting just for Christian Broadcasting Network, for Trinity Broadcasting Network, and now we had the Word Network, where it was just mainly African American pastors on, and now we have Impact Television. So we always are trying to make sure that we're keeping the word out there, and that is very important because if you're not broadcasting, if you're not out there in that space, you can have the greatest message, but if nobody's listening, it really doesn't matter.
Oh, let's see here. What's the role? All right. What role does the spiritual leader play in helping people separate biases, narratives from facts, especially when entire networks are working with an agenda? So what do you think the role of you guys in trying to help people to navigate truth from facts? Truth from fiction, rather.
Well, that's a big question, Brother Dow. And boy, if I had...
Ella didn't tell them to go pray.
Right.
Go pray about it.
Right.
That's y'all favorite one. Go pray about it.
Yeah, right. Well, a lot of times I think people, pastors can be, and I find this, I'm not one of these, but some pastors are scared or afraid to say certain things because of blowback from the community. And I think that we have to get away from that and be willing to take a stand, even if that stand isn't popular, and make sure that we are standing on the wall. That's the Bible talks about that. We need to have people who are standing on the wall to tell the truth, even against the king when the king is wrong. There had to be an Elijah to go and confront Ahab when he was leading the people of Israel to follow idol gods, and it wasn't popular. So we have to be willing to take stands that aren't popular. And I think today we have too many pastors, and I am a pastor and a preacher, and I love good preaching. But a good preacher can't stand bad preaching. And so when you have people who only want to don't want to give real truth, but just want to entertain people, just want people to run around the room, but not really give anything substantive, that becomes a problem for our community. And that's something that's challenging for me as well as a pastor, because you don't want to be just entertaining people so you can get a draw crowd. I think when the more is given, more is required. So if you are pastoring a 1,000 members, you need to make sure you are giving quality information, that you're not just there raising money to line your own pockets so you can live a rich and famous life.
What would you say about is defunding public media a moral issue? And if so, what does you say about where we place our values on public truth versus privatized spin?
Oh boy, that's a great question. I think that our moral decay of our society is shown in many ways, and this is one of those ways. When you're attacking with all the problems, in the world today, all the things that you should be addressing that need to really be addressed immediately, this isn't one of them. Making sure we have good quality public access to media, it should not be anyone's priority. So that really speaks to where we are in our in our society, that we think we value the wrong thing. So why we want to get rid of public media, but we want to cut taxes for the richest people in the world. That speaks to where our society is in our morality and where we are.
If this order go through, what you think faith leaders and activists can do to preserve the truth in our community?
Well, I think that the church is going to have to even step up even more and be and make sure that we are using our podcasts, our own social media platforms to make sure we're give truth and quality information to our community, which resonates and makes that we need a real revival in the church community that bring real truth to our community and get back and stay on that page.
So what you want to say to the young people out there who believe that, this is just all rigged, this ain't our fight, this is something that's going on, it's going to take, and they haven't really grown up. There's a generation that's actually didn't grow up needing PBS the way we needed PBS and utilized. There were other tools and other programs that came out that kids grow up. What do you say to those folks who are now watching some of the things we fought for go away?
Well, I think that if we're seeing the fact, we know these young people didn't grow up on watching Sesame Street, because one of the things that we learned in Sesame Street is you know how to treat each other, treat people with dignity and respect and quality, and we see that's not happening in this current generation of young folks that we're living in. So they may not have needed to grow up on Sesame Street, but they certainly needed that moral compass, and seeing stars, and seeing people, adult people, being concerned about the morality of our entire community. So when you grow up on the social media junk, then that's a telling in our current society.
Well, some would say Cookie Monster and Big Bird is junk too. You got Big Bird walking around, and you got a guy coming out of garbage can. You got Elmo. Some people can say that's junk too.
No, I guess if you think that being intelligent and
no, I'm talking about the other means that they're looking are teaching also. They're not just like, because I don't want people to go off thinking I believe that Sesame Street and that was the only way. No, it was public radio, and I believe it's programming, but there were other programming. That's all.
There are, but that doesn't mean we need to dismiss what we currently have.
I agree. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, Pastor Phillips is going to give us his closing remarks about this whole thing and what we need to do to stay diligent about speaking up.
That's right. Get a megaphone.
Speaking up on public radio. We'll be right back.
What's up, Cleveland? It's time to turn up the conversation. Tune in to the Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell Radio Show for What's on Your Mind Tuesdays. Call in, comment, and connect on 95.9 FM WOVU, WOVU.org, and hit us up on social media.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary.
We celebrate you servicing the Black community.
Keep doing your thing.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, WOVU, on your anniversary.
Happy anniversary, WOVU 95.9 FM. This is DJ Black Unicorn, the Marketing and Production Director, WOVU 95.9 FM. Our voices united, mission driven 24/7.
Get ready, Cleveland. It's your turn to speak up. Call in and tell us what's on your mind. Join the Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell Radio Show on 95.9 FM WOVU or stream live at WOVU.org. Let's make your voice count. Let's go.
All right. We're back here with Pastor Aaron Phillips, and we're talking about this executive order that's threatening our censorship. And speaking of censorship being able to speak and talk about various different things, we're doing a guest we got coming in on a podcast. We got Dr. Umar Johnson.
Yes,
he's coming into town, and we're doing a special. We're doing a podcast series. It's called Black America 2025. Are we thriving or just surviving? And we're going to bring in various different guests and people around the country and around the city and around the state to talk about just that. And if you want to be a part of that and send in a thing, we're going to be pushing that whole thing out on social media, where you can just sign up on social media and give us what your thoughts on about what's happening with Black America in 2025. Do we feel that we're thriving or surviving? Dr. Umar is going to be here on June the 12th. And we're going to be out at the formerly was the Touch of Italy out in Bedford. Is now called Uptown Ultra Sports Bar. And we're going to be there from 6 o'clock until 8 o'clock, where you get to ask the questions to Dr. Umar, or some of your favorite comments or questions that you may have, and get a chance to talk to him then. And we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in the Black culture. Are we thriving or are we surviving? So I want everybody, as we get closer to that, you're going to hear more and more of us talk more about that. But Pastor Phillips, I want to end on a good note. What's your vision for the future of media? And how can we reclaim it as a tool for healing, educating, and empowering folks in our community again?
Well, with the short time we have, I think as a church community, we need to do what we can to have different programs and support Dr. Johnson coming. And we've brought Pastor Freddie Haynes here. We need to do things to bring and expose our people to real truths and really build up the Black community. You can remember we had the State of the Black Church was broadcasted on public radio, on public television. Those are the kind of things that we need to continue to do, that we're doing at the Cleveland Clergy Coalition on a regular basis.
Hey, so I want everybody to, again, thanks for tuning in to Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell. We have Pastor Aaron Phillips here, and we're trying to take up for the seniors and the elders and the young people in our community, because
That's right.
somebody need to be fighting for them. And so, like we say, we want everybody to continue to listen to us and continue to fight for what's right. See you next Tuesday.